At the 13th attempt, the town left Kenilworth Road and come away without losing a game of football on Saturday, as we drew 1-1 at Hillsborough against Sheffield Wednesday. Alongside me to look back on a progressive afternoon for the town is the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, onwards and upwards from here?
Got a point.
We have got a point. Indeed we have. We will celebrate that and a whole lot more that's happened at the club over the last week and look ahead at what might happen between now and the end of deadline day right after this intro.
I believe our supporters are the best supporters in the country.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category in the Football Content Awards. This season, as always, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I mentioned prior to the intro, we are looking back, or celebrating, not just looking back, celebrating the town finally getting a point away from home for the first time since Millwall away, way back in September. Alongside me, I've got Jimbo. Jimbo with lots to pack into this podcast. Obviously, a much better game of football away from home for us to rejoice in. God knows how many transfer windows, I've lost count of them. So whoever we miss out, we apologise. But there are literally loads going on at the moment. But one signing that's been made since we last did a podcast, obviously, officially, Millie Ali has signed, but we kind of pretty much alluded to that in the last podcast. Josh Bowler, who came absolutely out of the blue. In the morning, he was going down the road to the allotments, and by the afternoon, he's seen the light and come to the right club.
Yeah, good on him. It looks like we're doing bits, doesn't it? Which is what everyone called for. So you've got to be happy with it. And we'll see what it brings. There'll be some gelling. There'll be some teamwork. Got a nice little break for that to happen, and hopefully it can. I expect more bodies to be coming in and out. To be honest, it's going to be a very busy final day. Yeah,
absolutely. Aggressive transfer window on crack, really, isn't it? I mean. It took a while to get going this transfer window for us, but my word, has it picked up speed. 6 signings as we speak. We're going to talk about potentially a 7th that is very much in the pipeline, we're led to believe, once we've covered the game. And as I say, rumours are plenty. I mean, the rumour mill has gone into overdrive over the last 48 hours. One man who's left us, though, since our last podcast is Alan Campbell. Obviously goes with our best wishes, left us with the memories of that winning goal on that afternoon in 2023, if I can get the words out. Real good servant to the club in those two, with the playoff and the promotion year. Didn't really work out for him the longer it went on under Rob, because it wasn't really Rob's sort of player, and ultimately we signed Ross Barkley in his position once we got promoted to the Premier League. But a brilliant servant, goes with our best wishes.
Yeah, hopefully he can go and reclaim some form, because it's not gone well from him since he was here, wasn't he? But when he was here and when he was on song and when he scored that goal against Watford, what a player that everybody thought he was. The old Lanexher Kante. Remember that? It's been so long not seen him. It was obvious that he was going to go, wasn't it? So at some point, because he has 2 managers he hasn't been in favour with now. So hopefully back north of the border he can do that. But we move on.
Yep, we have moved on from that combative style, and as Jimbo says, I really hope that we see lots of Alan Campbell and doing the rounds up in Scotland and get his career back on track. So Saturday we went to Hillsborough, obviously 12 defeats on the trot away from home, as referenced in Matt's pre-match press conference quite a bit, and to be fair to him, he acknowledged that was the case and that it wasn't good enough, and all we wanted really was progress. And I think we got that, it's fair to say. 4 seems to be the magic number, doesn't it, with regards to Matt Bloomfield's team selections? It seems to always be 4 changes. None of the front 3 changed this time, though, which was completely different to what we've seen so far. So we had 2 changes at fullback. Joe Johnson came in for Amari Bell. The for the best sporting performance seen by Joe Johnson in Sheffield since 1986. There's one for you snooker fans. Rue Walters came in for Daiki Hashioka. Lamine Fanner in for Marvellous Nakamba, and Tello Asgard came in for Tom Kraus. Obviously, we struggled down the fullback areas, particularly in the second half. But we'll come on to that in a minute. We'll cover the first half first. After the game, there were lots of Luton fans and Sheffield Wednesday fans that I was talking to as we were coming out of the ground, highlighting how poor Sheffield Wednesday were in that first half. But I'd like to think that we contributed to that. Our structure was really, really good. Our shape was very good. We had lots of energy in that first half, which we ran out of quite quickly in the second half. And Barry Bannon wasn't in the game at all. And going back to the preview, that's exactly what we asked for him not to be a factor in the game. In fact, no Sheffield Wednesday ones were, but that's because we kind of matched them up. They had a little bit of joy down their right-hand side, didn't they? They overloaded their right-hand side with Valerie, with Patterson, with Windass, and anyone else that can get down that side. But that aside, Kaminsky didn't save a shot in the first half. The only shot that they had of any note, Windass shanked a country mile wide, if indeed it was a shot and not a cross. So it was all about whether the town could do anything going the other way. I think it's fair to say we're very much still a work in progress going forward, and that's obviously going to be the case. You look at the amount of forwards that we've signed over the last week, just the last week. That's not even taken into account Izzy Jones as well, who was away because of a family matter, so not in the squad at all. So we are a work in progress. You would understand that to be the case. First sort of half chance came when Alfie got down the left-hand side, put a ball over that Jacob Brown headed over, which from an 80-yard distance, as we were attacking the other end in the first half, looked like he could have done a bit better with, but sending it over. But the next involvement between those two led to a wonder goal to open the scoring. First thing that we need to acknowledge with regards to the goal is Lamine Fanner's role in it, because we have not seen a Luton player drive from the heart of our midfield deep into the opposition half of the pitch for a long, long time. And we were told when he arrived that that's exactly what he specialises in. He was playing in the holding role. It was a kind of a 4-4-1-1 formation with Asgard in behind or just off of Carlton Morris, but it was also very fluid. It moved into a 4-5-1 or a 4-2-3-1 with Clark alongside Fanner, or the two wingers coming back, depending on the state of the game. But Fanner drove into their half, laid the ball off to Jacob Brown on the right-hand side, but didn't stop, kept on running Fanner, which took the central midfielder right out with him, and that opened the space for Brown to put a cross into Carlton Morris, which probably wouldn't have been on otherwise because the guy would have been in place to intercept that. Morris did brilliantly to hold the ball up. He's got, I'm not even going to pronounce the centre-half's name, but the number 20 all over him. Chests it down, sees Alfie, pokes it to Alfie, whose first touch is chef's kiss out of his feet. And the second one, you could have James and Jeremy Beadle in that stick. He ain't saving that.
Absolute net ripper on it. Oh my God, struck so sweetly. Beautiful thing. I've watched it so many times since. It's like you're not going to get a better one. That's goal of the season all over it, isn't it? Really, and he's already he won it last season as well. So, yeah, fair play to him. And first goal of the season, which shows really. Because he's been out, we know that. But I could have sworn he'd scored another goal, but nope. But if that's going to be your first one, going to be a memorable one.
Yeah, I said when Bloomfield took over, I can see Alfie scoring an awful lot more goals in this system. He's yet to play left back, where I think he will end up playing left back, just by virtue of the amount of attacking players that we've signed and the lack of left back that we've signed. I think we will put Alfie back there in time. But if he's going to do that when he's on the left wing, then happy days, because we all know how bloody good that left foot is. It's an absolute wand of a left foot. It's a genius thing. Yeah, I was sat right behind the goal at the Leppings Lane end, and he hit it from right in front of me, and as soon as it left his foot, no way in the world was that going anywhere other than the top corner.
Yeah, it seemed that way.
Fair play to old Jeremy Beadle in goal. He dived. He might as well not have bothered, because he was waving that goodbye from the second he hit it.
He was, yeah, and he probably doesn't get in those positions very often, because he's the main supply line when he was playing regularly. Before his injury, he was down the flanks, and the balls that came in were very good, which was why he was the leading chance creator in the Championship. But he doesn't not really played that advanced role a lot. I think he mentioned it afterwards, didn't he? That it was years since he's been a left winger, but I think it worked well, and it will be interesting to see how it all pans out. But it shows there what the options are there to play him further forward if you need to. So yeah, that would be an interesting one going forward. But I was happy with where he was playing and how he was playing for that day. With the team sheet, I was a bit underwhelmed, to be honest, when it first came out. But like you said, the first half, it was solid, structured. It wasn't spectacular by any means or any stretch of the imagination, but it shut down all their threats. And occasionally, when Luton looked to go forward, they did so with a bit more positivity than we've seen before. A bit more of a game plan to it rather than lumping it up, which, I mean, that ultimately in the second half all went away. But yeah, how many times have we been there? But you know, there have been, apart from Millwall, where it was just one of the worst games of football I think we've ever seen in our lives, there has been progress in all of the games under Matt Bloomfield. Now, not 90 minutes of progress, but you know, like you say, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's never going to be. And that's why we should celebrate the point, even if you're of the opinion that he didn't play well, because for half of the game he didn't. But we've said it all along in this run that to stop it, you're just going to have to claw and fight your way to something, and they did.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Again, I don't think the pitch helped us yesterday. It didn't help Sheffield Wednesday. I thought we'd get a decent surface at Hillsborough. We got anything but. I mean, when Barry Bannon's having to take 3 touches to bring the ball under control, you know that the pitch ain't up to scratch, because he's the most technically gifted footballer that the Championship's got to offer alongside Matt Grimes, isn't he? Or certainly that we've seen. So if he's having to take 3 touches, everyone on the pitch is having to take 3, and by the time you've got it under control, someone's up your arse to get it off of you, sort of thing. So I don't think that helped. And again, you know, both teams reverted to whacking long balls. Certainly, the longer that the game went on, and as a spectacle, again, it wasn't great. But the result was an awful lot better than what we've had recently, and that's the main thing. Second half was bitty. Lots of subs in that second half. They brought 2 on at half time, and as soon as Matt Smith came onto the pitch, you knew exactly how the game was going to go, because they didn't have that aerial threat at all in the first half. They kept on trying to play the ball out wide, put crosses in to Jamal Lowe, who can't be much taller than 5 foot if he's that, and McGuinness and Anderson had him under complete control. That was always going to change. Matt Smith must be 6'4" if he's an inch. He was a physical beast, a bit of a monster. They pushed Windass out wide.
Michael Smith, isn't it?
Is it Michael Smith? Matt Smith?
Pretty sure.
I've got Doctor Who on the brain, haven't
it's
I?
M. Smith. So
yeah.
This to say that.
Well, if it's Michael Smith, he's awful lot more accurate than the darts guy who played on Friday night that I saw.
Darts and snooker reference in this one,
mate. I'm a pub man. I'm a pub man. Whatever his name is, anyway, Smith. Meant that Windass went out to the right-hand side and Gassama came out to the left-hand side, and they also brought Stuart Armstrong on. And that was significant because we had to keep an eye on him and Bannon, and all of a sudden Bannon became a much more of a threat in that half. They had Shea Charles behind them, who looks a really good player, have to be said. Quite how he's getting loaned out by Southampton in the situation that they're in, I don't know, but even so. But even then, they were getting a lot more look-ins in that second half, but didn't really look like scoring too much. There was a chance where Gassama came inside and fired it low and to Kaminsky's left, but a comfortable save for Kaminsky. And then the turning point in the game, really, I mean, the game's kind of drifting on the hour mark. It's not really going anywhere. Gassama picks up the ball. I mean, he's a good 70 yards from their goal. Rue Waters has got him on the halfway line. He's man-marked him. He's touch tight. Just got to bring him down. You know, don't let him go past you. Or if he does go past you, make sure he goes past you touchline side rather than inside side like he did come in. Then he's had a chance to just grab him as he goes past the halfway line, passes that up. Jordan Clark comes flying in from Huddersfield or something, whizzes straight past him. Then Rue Waters gets another chance to bring him down about 30 yards from goal, and for some reason puts his hands up in the air as if to say, no, I'm not going to touch you, I'm not going to touch you. And you know what's coming now. He's either going to get a shot away or someone is going to plough into him and foul him, and you just got to hope that that particular part happens outside the box. Listen, that was way down the other end. it's, my peepers ain't great at the best of times, and actually Fanner comes in from sort of, I'd have to look right through Fanner to see the challenge, so I couldn't see. He was quite adamant that he didn't touch the bloke or won the ball. I couldn't really see what he was complaining about, but the penalty was given straight away. I mean, the referee's got his whistle in his mouth. Everyone can see the challenge is coming, can't he? Referee's got the whistle in his mouth, points to the spot. If it's a dubious penalty, well, that's 1-1, isn't it? Because we had a dubious penalty against them at our place. But you don't save the penalties that was hit, whether it's Matt Smith, Michael Smith, or any other Smith. I know Kaminsky went the right way, but you don't save cannonballs like that.
No, you don't. I'd be interested to hear people's views on the penalty, because the angles that I saw don't suggest to me conclusive proof that there was a foul from Fanner. So I'm not 100% either way, but I'm more into the realms of that's an okay challenge. You got the ball, but I'm happy to be convinced by other people if they saw it differently. Like I say, there's just the angles that I was shown afterwards weren't great. There weren't that many. You'd want to see one from perhaps behind and in front of the challenge, and there weren't. So if anyone got a better view of it, whack it in the comments. But at the time I thought, a bit hard done by there.
But it should never have got to that stage.
No, it was plenty of time to sort it out. And in fact, actually, Bloomfield said afterwards that, one half of the two that were trying to get the ball off him is a young lad. Clark's more experienced, but we know his experience with tackling.
I mean, that was just as bad, though, for me, because he's just dived in and sold himself. If he stayed on his feet, he could have forced him out wide away from the penalty box so we could get a second one goal side. I mean, the problem was we couldn't get goal side of him because he was bloody fast. That's why you had to pull him back. Not that we did. But to just fly yourself in like that, if you don't get that challenge right, you're out of the game. You've just sold yourself. And he didn't get it right. And he did sell himself.
Yep. We've seen it a lot of times. He's been much improved in the last couple of months, Clark. But when he was going for a really bad spell, tackling was one of the things we brought up regularly. But Rue Walters was on him the whole time. He's a young lad. Bloomfield said afterwards, look, we've got some young lads in the team. They're going to have to learn that it's okay to foul them somewhere along the line, which was a refreshing view.
Do you know what I loved hearing?
Yeah, I'm down for that, because that's exactly what we'd call for. That's what every normal fan would say. Bring him down, end that move, get back in shape and crack on.
If the roles are reversed, is he allowed to go through? Well, we know he's not, because Deshaun Bernard's first yellow card at our place was for doing exactly that. I think it was Jacob Brown that he pulled back. You know full well that he's going to get pulled down. And actually, if Walters pulled him down where he turned him, he probably doesn't even get the yellow card because he's 70 yards from goal. Referees are clueless in this league. They'll probably just let it ride. Had he pulled him down at the last chance that he had, 30 yards from goal, then of course he's going to get a yellow card for that. But you're going off 5 minutes later anyway, because he was only ever going to play 60, 65 minutes, and then Hashi came on. So you might as well have took the yellow card anyway, because you're going to be off the pitch in 5 minutes' time, as he was.
Yeah, I mean, it's about recognising the danger there, and fair. He has been injured for a chunk of this game. He was 19 when he came. I think he's now 20. I think he's had a birthday. Hasn't played a lot of first team football, so he's probably still got an academy mindset, whereas in the professional men's game, we'd all be like, bring that guy down, end that, and then just set ourselves again. And maybe he hasn't got that. And that's to his credit and against him as well at the same time. It's as double-edged as these scenarios are. I'm not, you wouldn't want to advocate for the dark arts, but they exist, and when they do, other people use them against Luton. And
also the situation that we're in dictates we need to start using them, because we need every 1% that we can to get out of this hole. It was unfortunate that it was Rue. It was unfortunate that, I mean, he might have honestly thought he could have got goal side of the guy, because he's pretty quick as well, isn't he? But, Kasama's very quick. In fact, that's as quick as anyone has run with the ball against us for a while, because he just didn't slow. Usually when they're running with the ball, they've got to slow down at some point, haven't they? That wasn't the case here. If anything, he sped up a little bit. So I can understand why he got away from him. But just that initial turn, either force him touchline side where he would run out of room, or once he's come inside, just trip him. Not dangerously or anything, but, just clip him and make sure he goes over, because he's going at speed anyway. It's not going to take much to push him over, is it? So And then we'd live to have told the tale. They might still have scored because we had to weather an absolute avalanche after that penalty. I mean, you mentioned against Millwall, we didn't even locate the kitchen. Well, they located the kitchen, the garage and the swimming pool and launched it all at us, didn't they? Because 3 weeks ago, we come away from Hillsborough with diddly squat. We do, because we did not know how to defend storms on our box like that. And one goal brought two, quite often brought three. But for the first time in yonks, in absolute yonks, we actually showed the battling, fighting qualities of a team that's in a relegation battle. We stood up, we muscled up, we threw ourselves in front of everything, absolutely everything. If it moved, it got thrown in front of the whole back four. That was Hashi when he come on as well. Mads Anderson was just looked like he'd been playing in that defence for 20 games rather than 2 games. Mark McGuinness, colossus yesterday. There was one block very, very late on. I couldn't see who was just about to smack it, but someone was about to smack it.
Yeah.
And he's got in and he's just blocked that. Absolutely everything I've sat here and said that I just want to see. Luton throw themselves in front of things, get hurt in the process. Joe Johnson poked one away from Windass at the back post. Yeah, we rode our luck. Kaminski's pushed 2 shots out. One's gone out to Windass, who must have thought he was in Santos by where he's put that ball. Another one's gone out to Kasama, which I think hit the outside of the post. Seemed to hit something on its way wide anyway. But you know what? When you throw yourselves in front of everything like that, you earn yourself a stroke of luck. And where we've had bad luck in the past, which we've kind of contributed to, we contributed an awful lot to our own luck yesterday.
Yeah, I think so. It was a nervous one because of how low we were, but I liked how tight they were in the spaces were in the middle. I can't recall Sheffield Wednesday trying to play the ball through, and that may have contributed because they'd look up, try and look for a space, nothing doing, and then they'd go out wide. They recycled it quite well, and so the danger was always there. But that's a positive for me, because what have we said about if you're going to have 2 big central defenders, get the ball out wide and let them whip it in. You'd fancy them all day long, and so that was pretty good as well. Yeah, you could say rode your luck, but bloody hell, we haven't had any, have we? Really going away. The thing was, I think that the penalty happened on the hour, and similar to Oxford, and you thought, well, it's just going to be the Alamo now, and that's the end of that, because they've got loads of time to score. And in actual fact, even though they did have a lot of pressure and threw it at Luton, like you say, not really any of those clear-cut ones that was heart in mouth, really. It was more...
Yeah, it's just those 2 shots that bounced off Kaminski, wasn't it?
It was more just thinking, well, everything's gone wrong so far. There'll be a cross goes in, someone shanks it, or something like that.
Or someone throws themselves in front of it and a deflection, like Arsenal's second goal today against Manchester City, and you're like, oh, how's your luck? They've finally thrown themselves in front of something and it's pinged off them and in the top corner. But do you know what? I'd much rather concede a goal like that, where someone throws themselves in front of it and we just bang out of luck, than turn their back on it and watch it go into the top corner anyway. And clearly, I mean, Matt Bloomfield referenced habits, didn't he? Pre-game and post-game. Habits that we need to get into, and good habits. Well, that's a good habit. And if them two are going to keep on doing that, then as much of a leader as he is, Cal Naismith's going to have his work cut out getting into that defence on that evidence. Of course, they've got to come back that up at Sunderland and beyond. But just the way they defended yesterday, if we can defend like that for the next 15 games, then Alfie Doughty's incredibly confident post-match interview with 3 counties will come true, and Luton will stay in this division, because we've clearly got enough at the other end of the pitch now, because we've just spent a better part of 20 million quid reinforcing it. So if we can just defend like that, then we will be fine. If we just throw ourselves in front of it, you're right, there was no space at all. And I've just referenced the back four. I should also reference Lamine Fano, who was never out of position once in the game of football. Just unlucky that he was involved in the penalty incident. Then Cal came on as well, didn't he, for the last 5 minutes or so, just to make doubly sure we had enough bodies in the box as ball after ball after ball kept on going in. And the longer that passage went on, the more you thought we're actually looking a wee bit more comfortable here as well. The storm kind of came between 60 and 80, didn't it? But from 80 onwards, their ideas did start to run out. I think they had one chance in amongst that lot, but nothing good, like you say, nothing that you'd expect Kaminski to be beaten by. So if you're going to talk about positives from this, the point is very much a positive given where we've been. But that defensive 30 minutes is as much of a positive as we've had in any away game all season.
Well, Luton did help themselves in that the 2 times they did get forward, sort of relieve that pressure after, it was almost from the kick-off in the second half to about that 75, 80 minute mark. And then obviously it went up and won a promising free kick, which Jordan absolutely wasted by whacking it into a 2-man wall. And then you had the bowler chance. So in effect, I think that was the best chance of the half, really. So we could have got more than a point, even though I'm not looking that gift horse in the mouth, because it was a decent opportunity. And at that point you thought, that we've not seen that before in the other games where it's been backs to the wall and defending for a long time. They did sort of rally again, but there was never any. There didn't feel like a cutting edge that would worry you on a normal day. I mean, it wasn't a normal day. It was potentially they were going to equal the worst ever record of losing runs, which they didn't, and thank God they didn't. And the defence, you're right, was a big part.
That free kick was so annoying because they'd set that wall up for the curling out swinger, and Bowler was standing there. Just let him swing it in, because he could have aimed it for the back post, and if someone had got a touch on it, it would have gone in anyway. And you never know. No, it might all have missed everyone, and the goalkeeper's got to react so late, it would have gone in anyway. For Clark to just hit it against the wall that they'd put up for that, they hadn't put the wall up for the in swinger because presumably they hadn't seen Bowler. Clark had taken all the set pieces up until that point. It was just like, just let us, because Clark had took a corner in the first half as well, hadn't he? That he swung in, that Beadle managed to catch, but. Yeah, very, very impressive. The other thing to pick out in that second half, 3 more debutants came onto the pitch. Obviously, we had Tello Asgard. I'll come on to him in a moment. Josh Bowler came on. He came on for Jacob Brown, or at least went over to Jacob Brown's side. Millie Ali came on as well. And Cal Naismith in the last 5 minutes for his second debut. Let's go through them all individually. Josh Bowler. We're expecting him to play on the left, or many were, because he's all left-footed, but actually played on the right. Now, he spent most of this season on loan at Preston playing right wing-back. Apparently, he's told Nottingham Forest he wanted to come back there because he doesn't like playing wing-back. So that's a positive for me, because it means if he's come here, he's been told he's not playing wing-back, which means we're not going back to a back 3 anytime soon. So I'm very, very grateful of that. But he played on the right, but he can actually go past people on that side, but he's going to be more effective coming inside, as we saw with his chance. What I like about him, in that interview that he gave on the club channels, they always ask, don't they, what kind of player are Luton fans going to see? And I've never heard anyone say this, but he said, I'm a skillful, positive player, but I can be frustrating as well, because I want to beat my man 8 times out of 10, but it won't always come off. But when it does, I'll create something. And I thought, fair enough. And the first time he did try and take the bloke on, he just ran straight into him, and you're like, okay, that's the frustrating one. But then for the rest of the half, every time he had that guy up against him, he did go past him. But what I really liked, he did his defensive duties, and we were struggling down that side. He saw a few balls out, just shepherded him out behind. Just simple stuff. But you only recognise it because 2 or 3 times we've not shielded balls out for goal kicks when we should have done. So just being able to do something as simple as that, that's something we've got stuff to build on from him.
Yeah, I like that interview because it was refreshingly honest for a start, but it also ties in very seamlessly with Matt Bloomfield's mantra of putting the ball at risk. That's a guy that's going to do it, and we need that because there's been nothing. The creativity has been seriously lacking. All the players largely all the players that came in or have come in so far have been forward-thinking players. So you've got to think that that's going to improve, and the players that are there are going to have to up their game, or they're just going to have to step aside for the new ones that come on. And yeah, he had a good chance. I won't hold it against him that he shanked it. It could have been more, but if he's picking up those positions, good. I liked what he did in the defensive side. Solid stuff. Simple, like you say. And he's only been there 5 minutes, so he probably doesn't. This week coming up, and I know we'll talk about it's going to be some crucial. Well, it's more than a week, 10 days, whatever it is. going to be crucial for getting those players bedded in, and whoever else comes in and whoever else goes out. It's going to be a really crucial period. So for a sort of first introduction, really good. Similarly for Ali, didn't have a lot to do, but when he did it was just direct and personal. That was in that move that Bowler missed on it, because he had a shot. It was probably on target. From what I
it was
could
definitely
see.
on target. Yeah,
Yeah, and it
didn't get registered as one, but
deflected to Bowler. So that's really good. And then we know what Naismith's about, but Asgard, quality stuff. It was, he didn't score the goal, which he and us are expecting he'll chip in with the goals, but he did lots of other stuff really quite competently, and that is not really the sexiest way of saying it, but considering what we've seen all season, competent is a great start.
yeah, indeed. Yeah, he can hold the ball up. That's the first thing. He can take the pressure off of Morris. He can go up for headers. He's a tall lad, isn't he? And he's got some physicality to him, but he's got good feet. There's a couple of times that he kind of brought the ball down and sort of rolled it away from the defender and then played his pass, and that was good. You could just tell he's a naturally good footballer. Just his first touch on as I said earlier, on a pitch where first touches were hard to come by, his first touch was very, very good. He took the defender away to allow Morris the passing lane into Alfie for the goal as well. There was another defender around him. He just ran him off for that pass to take place. And, of course, that defender, therefore, wasn't in the way of Alfie's shot as well. He's well out of the way. So that was good. Yeah, very, very promising debut from him. There's going to be a lot more to come from him once we've got all of these players gelled into position. But he's someone that in that side that can play the Kraus role in the kind of high-pressing 8 position. He can definitely play the 10, because for much of the game he was behind Carlton Morris in a 4-4-1-1 formation. And you can see how he could drift out into the wider areas as well, because you fancy he's got a cross on him, whilst you would want him to be on the end of a cross with his height. You can see why we've signed him. There's a lot of versatility and flexibility in him that's going to help us be fluid and do everything that Matt Bloomfield wants us to do. So I liked him. I liked Millie Ali. He reminded me immediately of Fred Onyedinma, who's just going to get his head down and go at whoever's in front of him. Loved the way that when he came on within 60 seconds, he ploughed into Valerie twice and left him on the floor a couple of times. That was absolutely brilliant.
You know when they say...
You're right here now, son.
They say about players like him, don't they, raw. And sometimes that's said with a bit of condescension, but I think sometimes rawness is just fearlessness. He's got some talent, and he's not going to let any of that stop him. And he obviously wants to prove himself in this division. He's come up through the division so quickly, and I'm fine with that. If he's raw and unpredictable, then you might have to factor in that he might make some mistakes, but he's also going to be raw and unpredictable to somebody who's going to try and mark him or take the ball off him. And, in that one movement that we saw, it was incredibly positive from him and trying to get a shot away rather than stopping and coming back inside and looking for something. It was just direct. And, it didn't come off, but we haven't seen that this season from a Luton player. Really, not too many. I can't remember.
Well, we haven't seen it because we haven't had wide players in full positions, have we? They've all been pissing about on the edge of our box because of the formation that we've played, which we've done to death. The other thing he offers you is when you're camped in, facing a storm like we were. If we do need to just get the ball down the pitch and away from our goal, he's going to chase after it, and a losing cause could suddenly become a meaningful one.
It's going to take a while to gel. And yeah, probably people have to probably realise that, and I think they do. I think most people do. But yeah, you can see in like 2, 3, 4 games that there's a lot of potential there. All the while saying, yeah, I know that's a big chunk of the remaining games out of the season, but you've got a point when they've barely played together. Who knows?
Yeah, point when they barely played each other. That's chunked a third of the deficit off from 21st place. Hull, who I said were not going to hang around for very long, having seen them against Sheffield United, go and lose at home to Stoke. This league's incredible. Goal difference suddenly looks a lot healthier now, not necessarily in our favour, but Portsmouth have taken 5 last weekend. Cardiff took 7 yesterday at Leeds. I think they had something like a 9-goal difference swing on us, so that's obviously whittled down to 2 now. So a win and a loss, and all of a sudden you're back level with them, and we've got to go there in 6 weeks' time or whatever it is, just after that Burnley game. So that's already looking. There's a big week there, isn't there? Portsmouth at home. Then I can't remember which way around it is, whether it's Cardiff then Burnley or Burnley then Cardiff. I think it's Burnley then Cardiff. So in them 10 days, that's massive at the start of March. Let's get there first, admittedly. But the table, whilst it doesn't look a whole lot better, it still looks okay. And Derby lost again. Okay, they only lost 1-0 to Sheffield United, but that's 7 defeats on the trot for them. At least we're only losing away from home, generally speaking. They're losing everywhere. I think there's a big game coming up. I think Derby have got Portsmouth somewhere along the line in the not too distant. So that's a game to keep an eye on. A couple of other teams in and around us. Obviously Plymouth won, which wasn't helpful, but they're still far enough behind us that we've got them covered, particularly if we beat them at home later this month. It's not, I wouldn't say it's looking rosier, but that point does mean something.
Well, it just is looking, from the last time we recorded a post-match podcast when it was doom and gloom, and it really was. The things that have changed, i.e. the transfers, which we thought would be the last hope.
Because we couldn't see a way out, could we, after Millwall?
I couldn't then.
We couldn't.
If the Oxford game and the Millwall game together, I just felt, the last half an hour of the Oxford game and the entirety of the Millwall game, I just felt that's a team who don't know how to get out of this. And so what do? Change the players that don't know how to get out of it. And, we saw some of them, flashes of 3 of them, 2 90 minutes for... No, Asgard didn't play the whole thing, did he? But Lamine did.
I mean, he did.
Yeah, pretty much. But
he came off for Naismith 5 minutes from the end, didn't he?
So that's 5 players coming in, and we'll,
we've got Izzy Jones.
Izzy Jones
presumably
didn't play.
Not going to be too far
Doughty
away.
only his second game back since the injury and scores that goal. So you look at all those factors, and it does change it move the needle towards the positive side, but it's still right in the middle almost, just on the positive side. But that's a hell of a lot better than it was.
Yeah, we're not out of trouble by any stretch of the imagination, but you can now see how we can get out of trouble. Whereas 7 days ago, we were struggling to see where we could get out of trouble. There was no reference, there was no acknowledgement that we had all the credentials needed for a relegation battle. We were talking about weak and, lack of urgency, and there was none of that yesterday. We were strong, we were physical, we were determined. Every time we had a restart, the ball was in an awful lot quicker, and noticeably an awful lot quicker. Even when we were 1-0 up, we were still getting the ball. Of course, Kaminsky took his time. You'd expect your goalkeeper to take his time. How he gets booked so quickly when every other goalkeeper in the land takes for an eternity and doesn't even get warned, I don't know. But, by the by.
There was also stuff in that ballpark of, I think it was Morris I saw do it as well, when they were trying to get a quick set piece off.
Stand in
front of them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's what you get taught that when you're a kid, but they weren't doing those things. So that's a positive.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to have to manage the game. We're going to have to manage certain parts of the game better, as we discussed with the penalty. But we're getting there. We're getting to an area now where you feel a team has got to do something really good to get a goal against us. Okay, forget the Oxford ones. Take them out of the equation. The other 3 games, the only goals we've conceded are a penalty and that worldie from Millwall, which was nowhere near in keeping with that particular game of football. And if we can get into that position, and I've said it before, if we get into a position where 1 goal gets us something in a game, you'd fancy us to get that 1 goal more often than we don't get that 1 goal. And actually, with these attacking improvements, you'd fancy we'll get 2 goals more often than not on a given day. Then we're going to be in a much better shape, as opposed to where we've been, where even 3 goals for us doesn't guarantee us anything, or certainly doesn't guarantee us a win, because we're conceding 3 just as easily.
Yeah, that's precisely it. And actually, if you think about it, all those things that he's managed to work into Luton's game so far, the first 3 games he had barely any time to do any training. Then he had a week between Millwall and Sheffield Wednesday. Now he's going to have 10 days between that one and Sunderland. So he's enacted some progress in there already, and that's the sort of stuff he was talking about the small things that they can go after quickly. Other things are going to be longer term. But then you think, he's Mr. Wickham, isn't he? I mean, they might be purring now, might be playing some wonderful football, but every time we've played them up and down the leagues for the last decade or so, they've done all that nasty stuff to the point that we've been so frustrated by it, isn't it? So, and he's been there for 20 years, so he's seen all of that. And if he can affect that to the point where the game management of this team isn't allowing, like your Millwalls, this is the anomaly, isn't it? The Millwalls were doing quick throw-ins and stuff like that, and we weren't picking it up. That is going to be... That's everything you need in a team that's scrapping, isn't it? You need to do the nasty stuff, little bit of dark arts, and have some quality when it comes along, which, it didn't come along a lot yesterday, but Doughty had it. But then they've got the attacking players that they have brought in to switch it up and mix it when things aren't going wrong, or, if they need a goal. So when you add those things all together, it does make you think that it is possible now, whereas before it just didn't feel.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no one's saying about time wasting or anything like that, but Morris just standing in front of the free kick just gives the defence an extra 5 seconds to get itself back into its shape and its structure, and that's how we defended so well. Whereas at Oxford, there was no shape or structure in that last half an hour, and we just fell apart. Whereas now, you just get the impression that we're not going to fall apart. We didn't fall apart defensively against Millwall. We didn't fall apart defensively yesterday. So he's obviously looked at that Oxford shambles, and it was a shambles. There's no getting away from it. And they've worked hard on making sure that they're putting it right. Is there still improvement to come in that defence? Of course, there absolutely is. It's still chopping and changing. He's still not named the same back four yet. Not named it in consecutive games. He's had to have changes. We believe Amari Bell was injured yesterday, which would make sense because he hasn't looked anywhere near himself anyway. So you kind of get the impression he was still playing with something just as a needs-must sort of stopgap sort of thing. Rue Walters obviously came in for his first game under Matt Bloomfield yesterday. Mads Anderson only played his second game. So there's certainly signs of improvement. You referenced there that his first 3 games all came along in the same week, and then he finally had a week to work on it. But half of the team that started or came on yesterday had only really arrived on Thursday, so he didn't even have the whole week to work on that particular game plan with the players that he was utilising. But now, whatever happens, everyone who's going to play at Sunderland is going to be in the building by Monday night, so he's going to have 9 days to get cracking on that. And he said in his post-match interview, which we'll play shortly, that he's really looking forward to that bank of time on the training ground because he really believes he can get some good work and some good habits into the players. And if he can do that in this run, I still think Sunderland away is a really, really tough game, but it's a free hit game because then all of a sudden you've got 2 home games that if you can get those structures and that attacking sort of element to our side up to scratch, you fancy that we can go toe-to-toe with most teams outside the top 4 now because they're all much of a muchness, as we saw again yesterday with some of the results.
What we've seen in the games that he's had so far, if you take out that last half hour at Oxford, Mill wasn't fun, it wasn't exciting, but they didn't carve Luton open, so there was that. And you put them all together and think that the work that he's been doing on the training ground is evident. Now, it's difficult to see because the results cloud everything, don't they? But if you look at it with a bit of hindsight over that 4-game period, there were improvements in most of the things. And where did they need to improve? Stop shipping a load of goals, which obviously didn't happen at Oxford. But I think he's looked at that, tightened it up for Millwall, tightened it up again at Sheffield Wednesday. They didn't carve Luton open, the Owls. And that's what we were fearing because it would play like Barry Bannon can do.
Yeah, they're a good side, Sheffield Wednesday. Let's not do them a disservice. You could see why they're in the top 10 in the table. They're a good side. They've got
a good manager.
Yeah. He spoke a good game during the Euros, didn't he, when he was on ITV. They've got good options. They brought Stuart Armstrong, who's been playing in the Premier League for Southampton, off the bench. They brought Michael Smith, you're quite right to pick me up on that, as another option. So they're a good established championship side. So going away to them and getting a point at any time really isn't a bad point. Of course, we were looking for more than that because of the situation that we're in, but that could be a good point in time. I'm pretty confident with that. Just want to finish the bit on the game just by talking about two players. You highlighted him there a minute ago, but let's do Mads Andersen first, because Matt Bloomfield seems to really like him. He talked him up a few times in press conferences, hasn't he? How impressed he was with him at Barnsley. He's now given him his chance. He's taken his chance, did nothing wrong against Millwall, did even less wrong yesterday, threw himself in front of a few important blocks.
I would say he flapped at Ivanovic's goal.
But that was a ball that was waist height and just
he
couldn't
still
get his foot
needed
on it, could he?
a great volley to get it in.
You're a harsh man, but fair enough. Let's say that.
No,
so that's
but
the only thing he's done wrong.
I said that
it?
at the time. I thought he flapped, but I did say the rest of the time he seemed to do most of the basics well, which was relatively comforting. I think that's what he sees in him, because when we saw him get signed from Barnsley and then he was going to be playing in the Premier League, we thought, well, that's a massive step up for anyone. I mean, going from the Championship to the Premier League, as we saw, was a massive step. I've even seen a podcast with Conor Cody talking about the step up and how difficult it is. And he's in it. He's currently in that relegation fight with Leicester. So to go from the third tier to that was always going to be a bit of a sea change. Now, we didn't see enough of him really, because he was injured all the time. But I think that where he was in League One to go to the Championship, and where currently Luton are in the Championship, he's got the credentials to do that. And Matt had seen him as a League One player do that as well. So, yeah, I thought he was quite effective without being flashy. And that's all you want, isn't it?
From a centre-back, that's all I want. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Lamine Fanner. We've seen him as a 10 twice. At QPR and then at Notts Forest before he got injured. But we were told all along he was a defensive central midfielder. I hate that term, because defensive central midfielder means you just got to sit there and shield the defence. But the modern day midfielder doesn't do that. Even Rodri, who would be the prime player in that position, still gets forward and has shots. And scores goals and things like that.
I think it comes from Makelele, though, doesn't it? He
probably
never did anything other than
that. I mean, it's the kind of term when the midfield diamond was popular, that the base of the diamond was that. But he's not that, is he? He's a ball carrying midfielder who can get you up the pitch. But
they've called it a pivot now, haven't they?
Pivot.
I mean, must admit, I've never heard, maybe it's just because I only seem to speak to Luton managers, I'd never heard anyone say it until Edwards came in and started talking about pivots.
Yeah, I'd heard Pep Guardiola say it, and it always filters its way around. Maybe it'll be Mikel Arteta after today's result at the Emirates. But what I like about him, when we started signing all these central midfielders, Rob said he's signing them to take the ball in pressure situations. Well, Kaminsky stuck him in pressure twice yesterday with passes that was straight to him when he had someone on his back. And he knew he had someone on his back because the crowd were like shit scared of it and was like, ah. But he didn't panic. He just brought the ball under control. And if he could only give it to Mads Andersen to play it out wide to Joe Johnson, he did. But there was one where he turned away from that pressure and fed the ball into Clark and got us up the pitch that way. The longer we play under Matt Bloomfield, and when we finally get to play on some decent pitches, just someone taking the ball from the goalkeeper, because he kept on booting the ball long yesterday, and Morris, bless him, he wasn't winning much. He was getting picked up, thrown here, there and everywhere like he was against Millwall. That tactic needs to end now that we've got three midfielders. We need to start playing into the midfielders. So if
sometimes Morris was throwing himself to the ground, really.
There is absolutely some of that. But if you're not getting fouled, if you're not getting free kicks when you're getting fouled, you've got to engineer it, haven't you? Sometimes. But if we can get the ball into Lamine in pressure situations and he's comfortable dealing with it, and it gets us up the pitch on the floor where we can use the pace that we've inherited or brought in, that's a real good thing. And if he can carry the ball in the way that he carried the ball in the lead up to the goal and commit men, whether the men come to him or the men follow his run after he laid the ball off, that creates space. And someone like Tello Asgard, if he gets space in around him, we know he can shoot, we know he can pick a pass. You can see where the combinations are going to come from. We just need the time of work now to get those combinations up to speed. But him in that pivot, he's a He's a big factor because he's a big boy. I mean, even if someone does come and challenge him when the ball's played to him, they're going to do well to get the ball off him without fouling him because he can hold his own anyway. I like what I see. Yeah. I must admit, I like what I see more deeper than I did in that 10 role. He played okay, but you kind of got the feeling that when he saw the whites of the goalposts, he kind of got a bit excited, if you will. Whereas yesterday, he just looked calm and composed in everything that he did.
But he's Spanish bred, isn't he? And,
he is.
I mean, Senegal born, but Spanish bred. And if those players can't, if their first touch isn't that good, I don't think they get anywhere in that country. They're exceptional with the ball at their feet. So I think that helps. I think his positional sense was particularly good yesterday, and it contributed to that closing of the gaps in the central areas where they did look, Sheffield Wednesday couldn't see anything, so it had to go out wide, and that is where you're far more comfortable. And even if he's not winning the ball in that scenario, if he's positionally spotting the danger, I mean, that is a huge benefit for us, because I don't think we had that. We didn't have that. When it was a two-man midfield, we didn't have the bodies, we didn't have the tacklers, we didn't have the positional nails. There just was nothing in midfield, which contributed to so many of the problems that we've seen this season. But that seems to be gone now.
Yeah, if the best threader of a pass in the Championship can't find passes through the middle of us in Barry Bannon yesterday, then you know that he's doing something right. And whilst we hope it's not anytime soon, the Town are going to have to move on from Marvellous Nakamba in the not too distant future, just because of Marv's age and things like that. So if Lamine is the heir to the throne, so to speak, in that position, then the signs are good that we've got ourselves a nice Nakamba replacement and a more mobile one, because for all that Marv's great at what he does, that carrying the ball up the field is lacking from his game. So we might even have a little bit of an upgrade on him in time. Not right now, because what Marv does, he's just exceptionally good at. But we'll get there with Lamine, I think.
Well, Marv's got a decade on him as well, hasn't he? He's played in the Premier League, and European football, which I think has Fana played in European football.
Not sure. He qualified his team for Europe, didn't he?
Yeah. But when he first came, and you were hearing people from Sweden talk about him, the stuff that he was doing yesterday was exactly what we were being told, which is why it was strange to see him in a 10 when he made his debut. Not that he did a disservice there, but he's not going to have to do that role anymore. Now we've got the likes of Asgard and whoever else is going to come in. It's not necessary, so we can play in the right place, which again is a novelty for us, isn't it? Because that's a round peg in a round hole.
Well, there was 11 of them yesterday, and that was also good to see as well. Yeah. Yep. So finally, we kind of stopped the rot. Kind of hanging on a little bit at the end, but that's fair enough. The good thing was we hung on at the end, and yeah, there's still work to be done before we need where we are where we need to be. Of course there is. So many people coming in, that's always going to be the case. All we asked for was progress, and you could clearly see the progress. That's our thoughts on a progressive 90 minutes overall from what we've seen recently. Let's get the man who masterminded that and his thoughts. Here's what Matt Bloomfield said to the club channel immediately after the game.
My thoughts are, first half, I thought we were very, very good. Our shape was very good, very structured, disciplined, gave us some good turnover moments and opportunities to attack. Fantastic strike from Alf, who's obviously got extreme quality in his left foot, we know that. At half-time I was really pleased. Obviously the changes that Danny was able to make with Big Smith coming on, Michael's done it at the level for a number of years. It enabled Sheffield Wednesday to miss out our shape and go directly into him, which shifted the momentum a little bit. There was some really good defending second half. Disappointed with the goal, really disappointed to give that penalty away. But all in all, some real good performances, and there's a lot that's been made of the run away from home. So to end that and to come away from Hillsborough with a point, I think is a good day for us. I've sensed a slight movement in the momentum of the belief and confidence this week. We were really disappointed with last Saturday, but the boys have worked incredibly hard, and I felt that today. So for them to get some reward for that work was really pleasing, and a couple of big blocks at the end, which enabled us to come away with a point. But I have to say, the boys have received the information since we've been in the building, fantastic. They want to do well for our football club, and I don't think I can finish this interview without thanking the supporters for clapping and the reception that the boys got at the end. It's not, like, we understand, right? It's not easy for them to keep paying their money and travelling up and down the country and not having anything to cheer. I'm desperate to give them 3 points at some point, but thank you to those guys for today, because we genuinely really appreciate it, and I hope they're pleased with a point today.
Yeah, Matt was absolutely spot on. He's also spot on about the supporters, actually. The support yesterday was absolutely brilliant, for considering what we've done, what we've been through for the last 3 months. There was singing. Of course, it helps that Cal Naismith's back, that Belinda Carlisle 1980s dittos back in song, which I know you'd like, in particular, all these songs coming back out. The one thing I would say, though, can we please ditch this bloody "how shit must you be, we're winning away" thing? I know it's popular and I know it's banter and all of that. We have actually been winning in 4 of our last 7 away games in the Championship. We just ain't won any of the buggers. It's not the going ahead, it's the staying ahead that's the problem. But yeah, Matt's absolutely spot on, and the more songs the better.
Yeah, certainly those that Belinda Carlisle one was a particular favourite. I just think let's get the thing that one of the things
Asgard's got one as well. It's a work in progress, lads.
I didn't hear that one.
No, it's still a work. It didn't really catch fire. It's a work in progress.
But that's one of my best things about football, and it died for obvious reasons, didn't it? It died because the football was so dire. But if we can get songs back, that would be amazing. All the good ones and some new ones, hopefully, for some of the new boys.
Absolutely, yeah. We're aware that we've harped on a fair bit about the game, and why wouldn't we? Because just in case I hadn't pointed it out, we did get a point away from home, and this one's got the potential to run quite long, actually. So what we'll do is we'll cut it here, and there'll be a part 2 of this episode that will come out relatively soon after this first one, where we're going to look at the transfers that have happened, that look like happening, and some that may or may not happen, both in and out. That will come in part 2. Before we go, though, 4 people got the score absolutely bang on, 1-1. For this game: Soulful Hatter, Twats LTFC, Peter Atkinson, and once again Claire Clark, who is absolutely flying clear at the top of our leaderboard, which is about to appear very, very shortly. As you can see, 5 points clear now, Claire. So got a healthy lead there, and the Chasing Pack's going to have their work cut out over the last 15 games. How the hell did you get a point yesterday? You got that nowhere near right, and yet you still gain a point on me. Unbelievable.
I don't know where you're getting this nowhere near. I went 0-0 and it was 1-1. That is the very next draw possibility there is. That is the next door neighbour of a 0-0.
I went 2-1, so I got one of the scores right.
1-1 is looking over the fence at 0-0's barbecue. That's what that is.
Not yesterday's weather, it weren't. It's bloody Baltic. Yeah, but 2-1, I actually got one of the scores right, and I get absolutely diddly pop to show for it. It's a shambles. Who came up with this scoring system? We need to modify that for next season. That is for sure. But yeah, well done, Claire. Flying away at the top of the table, and correct score predictions. We'll be back for the Sunderland game in a week or so's time. Thanks very much for all of your comments. To everyone who came up to me yesterday, really, really appreciate all of your support as always. Someone did come up to me and I had a picture with his son, and I forgot to get your names. It probably didn't matter anyway because I'm absolutely crap with names, but forgive me. But yeah, you're more than welcome. Really, really appreciate everyone's support, either at games, on YouTube, or on social media, however it is that you get in touch with us. Please keep doing so because we really appreciate it.
Yep, and I think that the comments have hopefully been a lot more nicer about that point, because it was very, very welcome.
Indeed it was, yes. Thanks to the Barber Club and the Lower Level in Luton for hosting our studio as ever, to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on set. From Jimbo and myself, we've got a point. We've got a point. Come on, you Hatters.
I believe our supporters are the best supporters in the country.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
The Luton people